Hi everyone and welcome to another Boss Girl Budgets. Today we are doing something a little bit different. We are going to be talking about my vacation budget. So if this is something you're interested in, grab yourself a drink, settle in and let's have a chat. So it is Friday today. Happy Friday to you all. I hope you've all had a beautiful, beautiful week. I have got a little Friday drink here. I've got myself a gin with some lemon, lime and bitters because it is Friday, so why not? Okay, so today we're talking about my vacation budget. Now this is something that I was going to be doing at the end of 2025, but my husband and I have brought it forward and we are going to go in just 2 weeks' time. This means that I've had to borrow some money from our savings, which is fine because, well, it's not fine, but it's manageable because I am coming into some money this year from the sale of my mother's house. So my mum passed away 10 years ago and her house has just gone up for sale. So the house has, as of the last 2 weeks, it has sold. I don't have the money yet, but it obviously will come in eventually. So that is kind of what I am using the money for, is to go on this trip, which is good because it means that it is mostly covered, but I'm not sure how much I'm getting from that because I only get 5% of the sale. So not sure exactly how much is coming in, but I have like a rough idea. So it's not stressing me out too much that we are going earlier, but it is stressing me out because we have 6-week vacation, which means I am not getting any income for 6 weeks because we are small business owners. We own our own business, so we don't have anything like annual leave or really any savings to go towards it except for what is in our house deposit. So for this trip, we are going to be using $20,000 from our house deposit to cover it, and then I will put that back in when I get back from our holiday and the money goes in. I hope this is making sense because it is a bit of a unique situation, which is why I wanted to go through this budget with you. If you saw my vacation not last year, the year before, you would know that I budgeted that one as strictly as I budgeted this one. So I kind of have an idea of what I'm doing, which is really good because sticking to a budget on holiday I think is really, really important because it can go overboard very, very quickly. So I have got a budget of $26,000. I'm willing to take $20,000 of that from our house deposit because I know that I can most likely put that back in. The other $6,000, you would have seen me saving this money throughout 2024. So in 2024, I started a travel binder. That travel binder I have been using to save money for this vacation. So I have taken all of that out of my binder. There was about 2,075, I believe it was, in the travel binder. I also had the 10K challenge that I did last year that I did not complete. So we only ended up saving 4,000. So that 4,000 plus the 2,000 for my travel binder has all gone into the kitty, which has given us this total of $26,000. Now my actual vacation itself is not going to cost me $26,000. That is pretty outrageous. Because this section here of my budget, this is $10,000. And this $10,000, that actually covers our weekly expenses, plus the rent I need to pay to store our stuff in Australia at my mother-in-law's house. Plus it includes the bills that I'm going to have to pay while I'm away. So really this $10,000 here is not actually holiday money, it's living money. So our weekly expenses include groceries, spending money, wine and dine money, activities, miscellaneous, petrol and coffee. It also includes our bills and rent. So this $10,000 I would be using anyway, so it's not really vacation money. I could go on this vacation. My vacation is not costing me this is what I was going to have to pay anyway, whether I was on vacation or there. But I use this in my budget because it keeps me on track and makes me aware that even though I'm on budget and even though I'm on vacation, I still need to stick to this, and it helps. It really, really does. So this $10,000, I know that if I put it in there, it's ready to go. I've got it for living expenses because we are going for 6 weeks. That's a long time. So I'm going to need groceries. I'm going to need eating out money. We're going to need activities money. So I break it down weekly. So this section here, all taken care of. I've got $5,500. That will be getting split up every week into my purse, and we'll be using it for these. So it's basically like staying at home. It's what I'm doing anyway, but we'll be doing it while we're on vacation. I find this really, really, really easy and really helpful while we're away to stick to some sort of budget. Now, obviously, I don't normally put that much money away for wining and dining and spending money, but it's still sticking to a budget, so I'm happy with that. So that is that side of it. So the actual holiday is really costing me $16,000, which makes a lot more sense. So we are going overseas. We are going to a few countries. So, well, we're going to 2 countries. So we're going to the UK, and then we're heading over to Europe. So in Europe, we will be going to Paris, Rome, and Amsterdam. So these 3 places, 2 of them can be travelled to via the Eurostar, which is a train. And then the Rome vacation, we will be flying. When you get to the UK, it's really easy to then get yourself to Europe. Things like flights only cost, I think our Italy flights are going to cost us $400, which is not too bad. Like when you look at it, you can go a lot cheaper. We've had flights where they're $50 each or $60 each. You can get quite cheap ones. I've budgeted about $400 for the flights to Italy, just in case. Same with the Eurostar. The Eurostar is around about £50, which is about $100. So getting to those places is a lot easier once you get to the UK. So we have got, for my pre-trip, I have budgeted $5,500, $4,000 for flights, $600 for insurance, and $880 is for seat preference. I'm quite short, so I can curl up in an airport, in a flight seat, whereas my husband is quite tall, so he struggles with legroom. So I usually book seats with legroom, or I book twin seats, so there's only 2 of us sitting in a row. So that's why that's quite expensive. So all of that, I budgeted $5,500, but we've actually spent $5,386.92. So I'm under budget by a little bit, but it's still under budget, which is good. Accommodation, I have put $7,000. This is for 6 weeks of accommodation. So the way our accommodation works is that I will, because my family lives in the UK, I go to that area where I know I'm going to spend the most of my time, and I will book a Airbnb for the entire 6 weeks that we are there. So that covers that. So then when I hire a car, we leave the car there. We kind of use that as our home away from home, and then we can travel in between to all the little places, which is quite good. The only thing that is annoying about that is that the times you are not using the car, it can be quite expensive. So we do have the option of picking it up, dropping it off when I'm not using it, and then picking it up again and then dropping it off when I'm not using it. But I think I'm just going to hire it for the whole time, so I'm not worried about it. I'm not thinking about it, trying to get from there to there, catching buses in between, etc. So I'm just going to do it this year. Last time we went, I hired the car, and I dropped it off, picked it up, dropped it off, picked it up as we were going to other places. This time I'm just going to hire it for the whole time. We're going to hire the Airbnb for the whole time, and it's basically going to be our house for the 6 weeks. So we always have somewhere to come back to if something goes wrong. So let's say I go on holiday and I need to come back a day earlier, or I want to stay another day, my Airbnb is booked. I've got somewhere to come when I come back. This is a convenience for myself. I know it's not for everybody that travels, because if you're traveling to the UK, you might not have family there, so you might not have a location that you kind of want to be. This makes it a lot cheaper for me, because if I was going for 6 weeks and I was staying in hotels, it would cost me a lot for the 6 weeks. So this makes it a little bit easier for me. So we have a $7,000 budget. I have booked the Airbnb, that's all done, and that came to $6,712. So I'm under budget. That's fantastic. Then we've got the car hire. Now I've put $3,000. I have not booked the car yet, but when I looked yesterday, the car that we want is going to be roughly $2,982.67. So that means I am under budget. However, this price can change in the next few days or the next week. I'm not sure when I'm going to book the car yet, but it can change. So that's a rough guide of what it's actually going to be. The other thing is the holiday expenses, which I have budgeted $4,450 for, and this is going to include the big holiday expenses. So transport, so we're talking trains. When I'm in London, I usually get a Metro card. This was really easy for me to get my hands on. I simply went online in Australia, I ordered the card, they posted the card to my house, so I had it all ready to go before we left. You can put money on it, and then when you get onto, say, the underground, buses, trains, etc. in London, you can use that for the whole trip. So I do go to London quite a lot when I'm in the UK. My family's only about an hour train ride from London, so we normally do like a lot of day trips. We go in, and then when we're in London, we spend a lot of time getting from everywhere, and that's going on the underground, so it works out to be a bit cheaper by using the Metro card. So I did organise myself one of them. I will put the details down below of what that card is called. I think it's called an Oyster card, but I'll leave that down below if you're interested. So that transport money will cover the Oyster card fees, plus it will cover any bus rides, any train rides that we have to do. So if we need to get from the airport to a hotel, or we need to get a taxi somewhere, or anything like that, that's what that money will go towards. I've obviously got my Italy flights, because we will have to fly to Italy. I also have phones down here. I've got an $80 budget for phones. We're going to be there for just over a month. So I normally get a card, like a SIM card when I'm over there. I've still got my SIM card from last time, and I will then get a cheap plan on that SIM card for the month to cover like Wi-Fi and things. So my husband and I both get one, so we can call each other and it's not using up Australian data. I found that really helpful last time. We used it the entire time. We had heaps of data, so I could do Bosco work while I was on the road. All those train rides and things that you just want to keep yourself busy, you can use that. You can watch some videos, anything like that. So that's my go-to. If you're planning on staying somewhere for longer than a few days, and you're going to be there for a while, it is worth buying a cheap SIM card, putting it in your phone, and getting a little data plan for the month. I've also got additional driver here. So when we do hire a car, sometimes, not all the time, but some companies make me pay for an additional driver. So because we've got the car for 6 weeks, I don't want to make my husband drive the entire time. So an additional driver can cost a little bit extra, but some companies, so last time we went with Enterprise car rental, and they charge per day for an additional driver, there was a little loophole that we managed to get away with, which was because we're a married couple, they said that we could go on the same kind of insurance thing and do that. I think that's only an Australian thing though, and not a UK thing. So I spoke to the guy and he let us do that. But then the second time we hired a car with Enterprise, they said that that wasn't allowed. So we ended up paying the extra fee, and it is quite a hefty fee. It's almost half of what you're paying for the car. So if you've got someone that doesn't mind driving the entire 6 weeks, then it's fine. But if you want to swap and change, you kind of need the additional driver. It does make it a lot better. So I always have some money put aside in case we need to do that, because sometimes with Enterprise, I don't think you can book the additional driver in advance. You have to show up on the day and then pay for the additional driver. This time around, we're going with Europe Car, and Europe Car, they let you book the additional driver before you get there, so I will know exactly what that's going to cost, which I think is so much better. So I will put some money aside for that. Then I've got a section here for the Eurostar to Paris and then the Eurostar to Amsterdam, which I think I've booked the Paris Eurostar already, and that's going to cost us 600 Australian dollars for there and back. But I haven't booked the Amsterdam one, but I feel like it's about the same because they do have some specials on at the moment, because in the UK and Europe it is winter time, so things that are a little bit cheaper, they do have quite a few travel specials, which is good, but it does mean that it's going to be damn cold while we're over there, which is fun. I also have a little section here for extra accommodation. So obviously I've booked in the Airbnb, but if we do go to Paris, I need to book a couple of nights accommodation. Same with Amsterdam. Rome, we have some family in Rome, so we will either stay with them or we might have to book a couple of nights accommodation. So that's what that extra accommodation bit there is for. And then that's it. I've got a couple more accommodation ones down here. So Paris accommodation, Italy accommodation, and then any other extra accommodation, because sometimes we go on mini trips. So we'll drive down to, say, Brighton, down the bottom of the UK, and we will stay there for a night. So I might book into like a little bed and breakfast or something. So that's where that money will come from. So overall, this should stick to budget. So my budget is $5,500 for pre-trip expenses, $7,000 for the Airbnb, $3,000 for the car hire, and $4,450 for holiday expenses. And then obviously over here we have the $10,000, which is living expenses, which I'd be doing anyway. So we have a $5,500 budget for the whole 6 weeks to cover our weekly. So just in this little section over here, this is the actual weekly amount. So groceries, I've got $150 a week. Spending money, I've got $165 a week. Eating out, I have $100 a week. Activities, $215. Miscellaneous, $83. Car juice, $83. And coffee, $33. Now, a lot of these are not going to work out like that, because sometimes I will not eat out. We'll just eat at the Airbnb, and then other weeks we might go out like all the time. So when we're in Paris, obviously I probably won't be cooking, I'll probably be eating out. So then that week will be a little bit higher. But I treat this section here, I treat this like my weekly income at home. So I have my envelopes that I take out with me, and I stuff this weekly amount. I will stuff each week that I'm in the UK. So I'll go to the bank, I'll get some pounds out, put it in the envelopes, and then I will use that. And when I run out, I run out. So then the next week, I know that I've got that again the following week. We're not going to run out of money halfway through, because I'm only using the weekly budget allowance. I hope that this makes sense, because I'm really bad at explaining things, but this does really work for me when we're away. And then obviously this home section here, I have $1,800 put aside, and that is going to cover our weekly bills. So at home, I will have to cover our subscriptions because we will use them on the road. We'll have to pay our phone bills here. We'll have to pay a whole bunch of things. You know, you've still got bills at home, even though you're on holiday. So I always budget for them, make sure that they're all taken care of. The money's sitting here, it's in our banks, ready to go, and we don't have to think about it while we're on holiday. And then obviously, because we're not actually living in the house, our mother-in-law is really nice, and she brings our rent down a little bit so that we're still paying her to have all our stuff here and look after our stuff, but we're not paying as much as we would when we were staying here. So that is a really lucky situation for us. But if you don't have that situation and you are traveling for say 2 weeks and you've still got to pay your rent, make sure you've got it covered, it's all sorted, and it's part of the plan, because there is nothing worse than going on holiday and having to think about money. I absolutely hate it. I will never do it again. I will always do some sort of budget. This budget really, really worked for me. I was really happy with it last time. This time we're a bit tighter because last time I had a bit more of a buffer. We had jobs, I was on annual leave, etc., etc. So I knew I was coming back to something. This time we're not coming back to anything except for Boss Girl budgets. So it's a bit of an unknown, but I know that if I don't go over this budget, we should be okay when I come back. So far, of this $26,000, I have spent a bit of it booking the flights, the insurance, the seat preferences, Airbnbs, etc. So I do have $10,918 cash left after what I've spent. That's obviously going towards this. So that's my vacation budget. So I know that was a lot of talking. And if anybody has any questions or tips or anything to do with vacation budgets, please let me know down below. I would love to answer your questions. As I said, I'm really not great at explaining things, but this video has been requested quite a lot, so I just wanted to do a quick run through of it and explain how I'm making it all work. While I am away, I will do some vlogging as well, and I will keep you updated on how the budget's going, if we're sticking to it, if we're going over, anything like that. And I will also do a few videos on tips while we're away and how you can make it a little bit cheaper. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you are interested in any other videos from myself. I hope you all have a gorgeous, gorgeous weekend, and I will see you soon. Bye guys.